I'll do my best. But we are small voices, you and me, Kathy, albeit that if there are enough of us, we become loud. But I'm afraid, and it pains me to say this because it's taken me years to fully appreciate it, but it is this profession that has much of the blame, much of the responsibility for this lies with British journalism, what passes for British journalism. Loads and loads of good people, some of my best friends, colleagues, past and present, doing their best. Some absolutely part of the corruption. Some people I've had to share studio space with, absolutely complicit in this. And not just the obvious sort of racist demagogues, but the people insisting that Brexit was going to be a good idea while not understanding anything. It's all there. It just gets handed down from on high. You can't work for the Barclay brothers or Rupert Murdoch or the rest of them without towing a certain line, and you don't waste enough energy. You don't waste any energy at all trying to understand what's right and what's wrong. You just say what you're required to say as loudly as you possibly can. And then you end up in the House of Lords like Charles Moore for being a loud enough advocate of all of the madness that's been inflicted on this country since 2016. And now Johnson's trying to put Paul Dacre in the House of Lords, the man that literally wrote front page headlines designed to denigrate everybody from High Court judges to democratically elected politicians. Who elected him? Nobody. In fact, he had a problem with the House of Lords when it was doing its democratic duty and properly scrutinising Brexit-related legislation being handed up from the House of Commons. He was calling it for it to be abolished, I think, around about that time, just like Claire Fox was. And she sits in it now. That's the corruption that we're talking about. That's the denigration of decency, the utter abandonment of values. So you could disagree passionately with somebody 10 years ago. You could even hate some of the stuff that they stood for, some of the stuff that they represented. Think back to austerity, the ludicrous idea that an international global crisis was A, Gordon Brown's fault, and B, something that could be fixed by closing libraries in Wolverhampton. You could have passionate, violent, verbally violent disagreements, but at least you all agreed about the colour of the grass on the pitch you were playing on. You look at some of the stuff. Look at Rory Stewart, right? And the frustration he feels. He's almost traumatised by his experiences in British politics because he is a man who loved playing chess. He'd played chess since he was a schoolboy, and he then became a professional chess player. He got into the House of Commons. Chess is politics here. And he watched as Boris Johnson started playing chess as if his pawns were queens, as if his knights could move like bishops, as if he could just pick up a piece and plonk it anywhere he wanted on the board and claim not only that that was allowed, but that was a brilliant move, one of the finest moves ever seen, a world-beating move. And what traumatises people like that is that they look around expecting their colleagues to go, you can't move a pawn 6 spaces diagonally. You can't do that. And he's expecting his colleagues to call it out. He's expecting the British media, he's expecting journalists, columnists, broadcasters to say this is not normal, you simply can't do that. But at the very least, they sat on their hands and said nothing. And at the very worst, they said this man is a chess genius, he's a grandmaster, he's up there with Garry Kasparov. Even Garry Kasparov didn't have the imagination to move a pawn 6 spaces diagonally across the board to knock the Black Queen out of the picture. It's an utter abandonment of basic truth. And that's what's brought us to this. And the people who want Boris Johnson to come back are not ready yet, and possibly never will be, to remove themselves from the teat of dishonesty that he will keep pumping until his dying day. It's 10:49.